Hi, I'm Gabe.
And I'm Kat.
And we're
the Ghouls Next Door.
And this is our 43rd episode. We're going to be talking about monstrous men.
Oh my god, aren't they always monstrous though?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, okay.
Leaning towards yes.
Okay, history would say so.
Yeah. So, this month we've been talking about our New Year, New Me theme, and this is the final episode of that theme before we move on to something different for February. Yeah, so we're talking about monstrous men. And specifically monstrous men where it relates to puberty, because in the monstrous women episode, we talked about how young women come into their, girls come into their womanhood and sometimes there's monsters.
Right.
And this time we're talking about how boys turn into young men and sometimes they're monsters.
Yeah, and sometimes that's true. Yeah. So puberty, ain't it a stinker? Yeah. So puberty, how it hits and it just keeps on hitting until it's quote unquote done. You know, puberty actually starts for men or boys becoming men when kind of just happens overnight whenever you have your first seminal ejaculation.
Yeah.
That's how you know. So you start to become a man, or in the process of becoming a man, when you are actually able to now produce sperm that can then populate an egg, and then that can give birth to a child.
Yeah, it's according to the internet, I read that it is measured when the male genitalia begins to enlarge, and then that is the measure or the beginning point for male puberty. It can happen between the ages of 9 and 14, whereas with women it's 8 and 14, so it's just a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, talking about like a personal anecdote about going through puberty, it wasn't that bad for me.
Oh, lucky.
For me,
it was so lucky.
I was already a weird kid, so I just had an excuse to be more weird.
It's just like, that's just Gabe. Don't worry about it. It's cool. It's weird. That we expect that. Yeah. For me, it was kind of similar. I was already kind of a weird kid, but I just got much weirder. So voice definitely deepened a bit. Lost my ability to sing. I was in choir for quite some time. And then when puberty hit me like a Mack truck on the empty freeway, it took all of it. And not even just that. Puberty hit me in ways that I never would have thought of. Not only with just the whole voice deepening and even the odd parts of it cracking, where is one moment you sound like you're still a youth and the next minute you're just a grown man. Like, hi, I'm Kat, and then hi, I'm Kat. Whoa, where did it go from? Oh, I sound like my father. Let me get back to my normal voice, and just trying to I guess find your weird in between with that. But hair is a thing that grows everywhere, and it just comes at you full force without warning. I remember I woke up one day bald, and the next day, bam, right there in your privates. It's like, what's poppin', playa? We're here now. You're becoming a man. And that bugged me out. That happened when I was 10. It bugged me out, but I felt like I accomplished something wonderful. I could just walk around a little bit taller now. I'm like, yes, this is how I do things. This is how we accomplish it all now. And because it happened to me at such a young age, I felt way ahead of everyone. Because I think everyone else for me in my age group and in class group for school, it kind of happened to them maybe a year or two later. So I was one of the first few ones with armpit hair, private area hair, voice started cracking.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact age that I went through puberty, but it was...
I remember my exact age. I tell you, hair everywhere. Hair everywhere. Hormones started to go wild. I'll touch on that soon.
Yep.
You know what? I'll actually talk about the hormone things now. So, what they don't tell you about puberty for guys, nocturnal emission is a thing, y'all. Like, you know how you're able to produce sperm now, and yeah, you a man. Yeah, well, that process happens overnight, and well, you might want to get some new sheets. So I just remember the very first time it happened to me, completely the most embarrassing. I wish I rather had pissed the bed. I rather wish I peed the bed, but it happened, and then I had to look my dad directly in his eyes and say, I don't know what's happening to me. I am changing. I think I'm broken. I'm sorry. It was like, with all my like pure innocence that I had left within me, I began to cry. I was like, there's hair everywhere. My voice doesn't stay the same. It can't stabilize. I had to quit choir. I'm growing. My feet are getting ginormous. The bed is ruined. And then my dad just patted me on the head and was like, Cat, it's okay. This is all part of growing older. You're going through a thing known as puberty. And that's when hormones swung. And I was like, no, I don't want to go through puberty. I don't want this. Although I like getting taller, but I don't want to go through this at all. This is horrible. Why me? Have I been cursed? Oh God, I'm Sasquatch. I went from a 6 to a 9.5 real quick. This is ridiculous. I'm now 4 inches taller than all my peers. I don't get what's happening. I'm a giant. I'm just colossal, knocking everyone over. And hormones, there's more on hormones later, because God, they're awful. But
they're awful, and they're never ending.
Urges.
When I first heard of Nocturnal Emissions, all I could think about was that super late block of Adult Swim where they just played like weird anime music videos.
Like Initial D and stuff.
Yeah, like weird anime and weird anime music videos.
Yes.
And it was just called Nocturnal Emissions. And I remember watching it and be like, I wonder what that is. and then I learned.
And then lo and behold, it happens to everybody, every boy out there. That's your body's way of saying, hey, you're now a young man.
Facts. What are we learning?
Facts.
Oh, yeah.
Facts.
What else?
Facts.
Okay.
Yeah, those facts.
What other things?
Those facts.
Got it.
Facts.
Yeah.
So, Monstrous Men facts. And talk about what it means when men are transformed into beasts after becoming a man. You know, how that usually shows up in film and in history and stuff.
All right.
So let's talk about those facts.
Those facts.
So typically in media, when a man has puberty, they're not usually shown as being monstrous.
Right.
They're usually portrayed as being heroic. The biggest example that comes to mind is Spider-Man. Your body's going through changes, and you're shooting goop everywhere.
Yep.
It's because you're a Spider-Man.
Nocturnal Emission.
Or it's shown as being comedic. Think like American Pie, or like Teen Wolf, which
perfect example
is... Yeah. I understand your body's going through changes, and open the door, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Your dad is also a werewolf. Don't freak out.
Gotcha.
In that case, for Monstrous Men, the monster part isn't always related to the individual.
Right.
Something we'll talk about a little bit later is that it's an outside force that messes with them, that turns them into the monster. Mm-hmm. Whereas with monstrous women, them becoming a woman was part of becoming the monster. Right. For example, Carrie. It opens with her getting her period and being ridiculed for it, and her sort of coming into her own is when she like murders a bunch of people. But that's not always the case with monstrous men. For them, either they were always the monster, for example, like monster movies like The Creature from the Black Lagoon. So, to bring it back to specifically about monstrous men transforming around puberty, the facts, I could not find very many examples of this. It was more of talking about puberty as a whole, more like educational things about puberty.
Right.
And the history of puberty, I mean, it goes back to the dawn of humankind.
Humankind, just a very natural thing. Puberty, yeah. A lot of, I guess, facts to come along with the monstrous men. Like you said, it almost seems as if for men in horror movies and thrillers and those sort of things, in order to actually be considered a monstrous man, something has to have happened to them. And it's not necessarily a very innate thing unless they're per se like an alpha type monster like the original. Like ties back into the superhero thing where men, when you're going through puberty, you're going through all these crazy bodily changes and mental changes as well, that you get thrusted upon into this sort of lifelong adventure of I'm going to achieve something great. That I am this hero of my own story because, you know, women weren't the heroes of their own story way back when. I'm the hero of my story, and I'm going to bring all my friends and all my colleagues and rescue a damsel in distress and, you know, get the girl, win the day, yada, yada, gold house, happy ending. And that's what it seems. But if at any point throughout your journey, more than just like an obstacle, something is actually interfering with your growth, with your puberty per se, then you become a monster. You become this thing that gets outcasted and not necessarily looked down upon, but you get looked at very differently, and you yourself tend to have a different outlook towards the world. You tend to bring upon these aggressive tendencies, which are just hormones you can't understand because your body is really changing, and your ability to regulate and monitor certain levels of stress, even dopamine levels, everything just, it starts to change because your brain is a major part of this and is still developing. And while your brain is still developing, you're going to go through a whole bunch of changes. And fortunately, unfortunately, it happens to a lot of people. But with the monsters aspect of it, yeah, it seems like you become extremely aggressive. You always have a odd sense of pride, and you always want to dictate pretty much everything. That you want everything to go your way, essentially. And it becomes monstrous because in that regard, you become a dictator, and dictators are never nice. They never have anything good planned, and you become such a small bubble and like social aspect that it kind of erodes your inner circle and outer circle, because people want to stay away from a monster. They don't like monsters. They kill monsters, pitchforks and flame torches and everything.
Getting back to the media aspect or the media portrayal, the thing that changes the person or the man from being just a run-of-the-mill young man going through puberty into a monster, from the examples we saw, it was usually science.
Yes. Science!
Science.
How can you be so cruel to us?
We
were so good.
A deviation from the traditional family values brought upon by science.
The cruel crunching numbers that we must use to calculate better understanding of the world.
In that case, it was usually it was science as a cautionary tale. It can turn you into a monster, which mirrors the early comic book heroes as well. Spider-Man turned into Spider-Man because of science. For sure. And all of his villains were predominantly turned into their villain selves through science as well. It's just Peter Parker was the good person and the rest of them were bad. Right. So he has to punch them a lot.
A lot. like a lot.
Decades of punching.
Yes. Well, there was the one time he even became a spider. That had to be a whole new level of quote-unquote puberty for him.
Yeah, that was, I guess it was related to the Clone Saga of the comic book version of Spider-Man, but in the cartoon version, his mutation goes out of control and he turns into a 6-armed, 2-legged spider person.
Completely hideous.
Yeah.
Absolutely grotesque and frightening.
What does it mean when the men are transformed into beasts? What does it say about us? It says a lot, I think, that they start as innocent young men, go through puberty, and become these monstrous creatures.
Right.
It says a lot about what people were thinking at the time. Some of these films from the 50s and 60s were there's a lot of like underlying fear put in. I guess in horror in general, but
Yeah.
This was a specific kind of fear about I guess loss of innocence and becoming something different.
Oh, for sure. It was definitely shown a lot in the movie.
So the topic, or the specific of men transforming into monsters around puberty, was actually, as we stated, it was like, usually puberty is a time for heroics, for Spider-Man, Static, all of them getting their powers and becoming heroes. Right. And then for men transforming into monsters, like taking away the puberty aspect, there are plenty of examples of that. The original Wolfman,
Yep.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
It's either a, like, for Wolfman, it's a fear of the wilderness, or like the primal side
Right.
of humankind. And with Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, it's again science corrupting us, and be afraid of these people who are not
True.
who are not part of the predominant social structure.
Right.
Fear the scientists.
Exactly. Which, ironically, would also make me think of, well, wouldn't Dr. Frankenstein, even though he himself isn't, I guess, quote unquote, a monster, he kind of was a monster for creating a monster. Well, I shouldn't say monster, a misguided undead child.
Yeah.
And then abandoning it. So therefore, doesn't that make him a monstrous man?
Yeah, I think so. Something we talk about in our Mary Shelley episode is the you don't ask to be born, you don't have to be born again.
Tear it down.
But yeah, it always comes back to science.
Yes.
I guess two things: science and that primitive side.
Right. The very primal and ancient aggressive side of us that hides within.
Yeah. I guess we'll talk about it more later, but it's a little bit of both in I Was a Teenage Werewolf. But yeah, there's always a legend of something that's both less than and greater than humans at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also related to some like superstition or some folklore. There's lots of like, in the other thing we're going to be talking about more in Hemlock Grove, it's more about romantic superstition. Yeah.
Just is the greatest one that always comes to mind when it comes with monstrous men is the Wolfman, the werewolf itself. And first off, I just want to say, when I was younger, I definitely wanted to be a werewolf. I definitely went through this phase where it's like,
same.
I'm not gonna unlock any sort of superhero power. I better be a werewolf. I want to howl at the moon. Transform me at night. Give me the ability to become a wolf so I don't have to be afraid of the forest. Like I was already like a decently athletic kid. Make me more athletic. I want to be able to jump out the gym. I want to be able to run super fast, have my senses be all crazy. I was about that wolf life. I don't know about vampires, but we'll talk about that later. But wolf life, yes, me, monstrous, wanted that for a little bit, but not monstrous in the Dr. Frankenstein way, because I'm a good person. just trying to let y'all know.
Yeah, full on the underworld style of werewolf. That's like you can control it. You don't turn into like a big dog. You turn into like a half wolf monster.
Yes, that I wanted all of that. Like the thing even from Van Helsing, but just with, the underworld ability to I am in full control.
Yeah.
Because the werewolf in Van Helsing had like the biggest, the greatest like transformation besides Hemlock Grove, which I will say is definitely like a euphemism for how puberty just hits you everywhere. I think it just stems from that fear, because as I said, monstrous men, history will tell you we are. That there, I think, is this need unfortunately, that may be innately for some sort of conflict. And when it comes to men, the conflict is usually always very aggressive and not assertive. And there is a difference between the two. So that's why there was a lot of colonizing and conquering, from way back when, that may still hide within the character depths of most men out there. And it's not saying that everyone's out here for world and global domination. It's saying that pretty much every man wants to be an alpha in some way. And you can only have there can only be one alpha per se, per group, I guess. But every man wants to be an alpha. And then that can actually transform you into something monstrous. Because that then kind of attacks one's pride, or at least plays at one's pride. And pride is the downfall to everybody. If you have too much of it, it kills you. Pride will kill you left and right. It is the ultimate anchor. And because of it, well, we transform ourselves into monsters while we are going through this stage of puberty, because we're trying to find ourselves in this world. We begin to actually gain a greater sense of self that I found on this online article. It was just like a men's health article going through the whole social awkwardness and awareness. Most people hit puberty during middle school and high school. That's probably the most socially awkward time you're ever going to experience. And you're trying to find your way. So then things become clicky. And with cliques, well, you tend to ostracize other people because they don't tend to fit in your own particular bubble or what you figure is normal. And, well, some people, they don't like that. So you kind of become an outsider, or you try to fit in, which fitting in is good per se, but the way you try to fit in is you will then start to take on whatever people kind of place upon you. So whatever you get characterized as, that's what you're going to present yourself as. So someone, starts to say, hey, this person is like a goody two shoes. You're socially aware now. Okay, I want to try and be a goody two shoes. This is what helps me. This is what helps me get intertwined with friends. I need friends now. Like I need a social group.
Friend.
Friends. Friends. I need a friend. Please. But those who are ostracized, they tend to, quote unquote, not care. Wrong. Everyone cares because everyone needs somebody. And I know I was mentioning earlier about the alpha mentality with it. Everyone wants to be an alpha. So with that, you're going to want to follow your own set of rules because you think you know everything. And when you think you know everything, you can be misguided very easily by someone that knows far more than you. Because more likely than not, they're older. And you can be manipulated. Which I think is a point we're trying to talk about later. But with that,
manipulation from authority figures.
Yeah, manipulation from authority figures. Again, troubles with authority figures. It's a thing. It's a thing in puberty that you tend to struggle with because you feel you know everything. You want to know everything. But newsflash, we don't.
Spoopy films.
The spoopiest.
Yeah, we watch those spooky films. Spooky films here for you.
For me? The two things that we watched for this episode, a film and a series. First was I Was a Teenage Werewolf, a 1957 film, and Hemlock Grove, the Netflix series, running from 2013 to 2015, thereabouts.
Yep.
So first, I Was a Teenage Werewolf. It was directed by Gene Fowler Jr. I Was a Teenage Werewolf is a story about a young man named Tony Rivers, who is a very aggressive young man. He punches people at the slightest provocation. He's quick to anger.
I run hot, as he said.
Yeah. He's being raised by a single father, and he's pretty punch happy.
Very punch happy.
So this teenager, he in order to curb his destructive behavior, the principal convinces him to visit Dr. Alfred Brandon and go through some psychotherapy treatments to try and find the root cause of the anger and cure him. Spoiler alert. It doesn't cure him. Science is evil, and it'll turn you into a werewolf. So he's used as a guinea pig for the doctor's nefarious schemes of unlocking the primal man, as he says, and transforms him into a vicious werewolf. This film was made for just $150,000, and it went on to gross over $2 million.
Ooh, talk about making your money back.
Very impressive. It spawned a short series of films called the 4 Teenage Monster Movies. Okay. They were produced by AIP during 1957 and 1958. All 4 films highlighted a theme of innocence being corrupted and teenagers being preyed upon by adults with selfish reasons. This doctor who was supposed to help Tony.
See, Tony, Jimmy, Timmy. I mean, no, Timmy's in the corner.
Timmy's in the corner. Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. The film opened and it said, "Oh no, Jimmy!" And I said, from then on, I was like, "Oh my god, Jimmy's the main character. This is great." Yeah. It's such a stereotypical '50s movie, and then it's like, "Oh no, the main character's name is Tony. How am I going to remember this?"
There's no rhyme scheme to nothing. I don't know.
Throughout the film, you see Tony acting, not good with authority figures. There are a few scenes actually that show that he is willing to work with them. He wants to be better.
Yeah, that's true.
The catalyst for this is when they're all having a fun party and they're playing pranks on each other, such as pretending to be murdered, putting on scary masks. Someone plays a horn behind his head, and he just turns around and punches the guy
him right in the face.
And then he doesn't stop. He just keeps punching him.
Does he not? He doesn't know the meaning of stop. Okay, I just keep going.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So he realizes the error of his ways, and he agrees to go through this treatment. He was originally opposed to it because he don't want no quack shrinking his head, I believe is the
exact words he used. 1950s, y'all. The slang. Whoo, it was different times. Different times. Oh, man.
So what I thought was interesting, bringing it back to the puberty aspect, is there's a turning point in the movie when he can't go back. He's still like turning into werewolf, not turning into it.
Yeah.
And then there's a moment where he just had a meeting with the principal. Everyone's really happy with his behavior. He's going to go to a great college. He's got his whole life. Like, everything's coming up, Tony.
Yeah, finally.
And he's leaving the principal's office, and he passes the gym, and he sees one of his friends, a young woman, who is practicing gymnastics.
Yes.
And he stays a moment to watch. It's sort of shown as he's just sort of curious, and he's maybe like wants to talk to her, say she's doing a good job, but he starts leering at her almost. It starts being a little bit more than friendly. Yeah. And then the bell rings next to his head, and he freaks out and turns into a werewolf. So it's this like watching a woman and then being turned into a beast,
like sexual predator, like.
Yeah, like a little bit like that.
I mean, just in words, although maybe not in the exact term.
No, but it's more like,
because like wolves are pretty. You know what? You got this.
It's more like the parallels between the primal like person acting on their, internal instincts, and that being like just the worst excuse.
Yeah.
And it's films like this one that sort of created a precedent for it, because he became if he was just walking home and he didn't see, if the door was closed, maybe he turns out to be fine. Maybe he turns into a wolf in some other, like, loud place. I don't know. Someone honks at him in traffic, he turns into a wolf. I mean, it's
still not a great
not
outcome, but, like, it wouldn't be as creepy.
Yeah. And so he turns into a werewolf, and this is the final time, and you get to see the transformation. Up until that point, they sort of show him like he's a beast, and it's he's a guy in a mask. That's fine.
You can tell. Prosthetics everywhere.
Yeah. And then he runs amok, runs into the woods, and gets hunted down and killed, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. But don't worry, the evil doctor and his nice moral apprentice, or assistant rather, also die.
Is the apprentice moral?
Well, he objects.
Yeah,
but then he's
morally ambiguous. I feel like he had ample opportunities to try and stop him, so he's at fault here too by a lot. I mean, granted, he did get his just desserts, but
he's more like, I really don't think we should be doing this, as he fills the syringe and injects the boy.
It's like, you have no sort of free will of your own, do you? You're just, you're a yes man.
Yeah.
I think how it all ended. He was killed as a monster, and then when he reverts back as a human, all the officers, the two officers that were there that shot him, and I pretty much put a stop to his werewolfingness. That is him.
His wolfing.
His wolfing. Yeah, his wolfing. They are sad, but they also felt like there was no other way.
Yeah, they sort of reacted the way, like, putting down an animal, like the way you would do that is like, oh, this is a darn shame, but you got to do it. Right. Not like, oh man, we just killed a kid.
Exactly, like that's a kid. We just got done talking to his father. Like, oh, okay. Well, now we have to tell him, hey, we know your wife has been gone and your son Tony has been missing. We found him like this. How can you say you found him like this with bullet holes? And like, that's not, you can't. It seemed they were resolute in their decision, but I feel they almost shouldn't have. Like, there wasn't enough remorse felt.
I mean, the first thing out of his mouth was, you saw it, I was in self-defense. It's like, oh.
It's like, you went there. Okay. You went there. 1950s, y'all. Apparently, that was just the thing.
Yep.
I don't know. It left me just wishing that he was able to make it out, because he took a few shots before he actually fell down. And I just wished, like, maybe before the last, like, the killing shot, that somehow Tony was able to, like, revert back enough, like, oh, this hurts. Oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm human. Like, try and gather myself. But because of everything that had transpired, he became a full-blooded monster. When you're a monster, you get put down. Something you had mentioned just a little bit ago, when he had saw the woman, right? Saw his woman friend, and he just transformed. That brings me into Hemlock Grove.
Okay.
Because episode 1, first, let me just give the audience a brief synopsis. So, Hemlock Grove, it's based on the book by Brian McGreevy and is executive producer by acclaimed horror master Eli Roth.
He's my husband.
Yeah, that's your boo thing. So this Netflix original series revolves around the peculiar residents and killer creatures of Hemlock Grove, a dilapidated former steel town in PA. Oh, that's us!
Yeah!
PA, we're here! Oh, and did you know PA has more hate groups per capita than any state in the United States? Just wanted to let y'all know that fact was in Hemlock Grove.
Yeah, I actually wanted to fact check that, because it's I believe it. I just want to confirm, because that's hilarious.
That's hilarious and scary.
It's also sad. It's very sad.
It's like, oh, we live here. Oh. And so the town is composed of people living in poverty and those who are extremely wealthy, the Godfreys. They are the wealthiest family in all of Hemlock Grove, and everyone has a secret there. There's sinister mysteries that tend to unfold in a seamier side of the town that it gets exposed as well, placing suspicion on many and revealing that nothing is what it seems. So that's the synopsis of Hemlock Grove. So what I wanted to talk about again is more I guess like the primal man side with being unable to control urges. So in Hemlock Grove, the very first episode, there's a scene where this young lady is meeting up someone for a date, a hookup of sorts, and she is literally ripped from the car. No, the car is shaken up, ripped, and then she's running until she finds like a safe place per se. And this wolf, all right, is the most. Just, you didn't have to do this. You didn't have to do this at all. Like, we understand animal attacks and werewolf attacks from by now from movies and other shows at this point. But to make it a deliberate point that the wolf, spoiler alert, ends up killing this lady, rest in peace, eats her from the vagina down, is like, oh. So I get all the things you're alluding to. She's out there late at night. She was waiting for a sexual encounter. She did not get this sexual encounter she was waiting for.
Sexual encounter with her teacher.
Important.
No.
Very important.
I actually don't know if it turns out to be important. I'm only on episode 3.
I'm only a little bit further than you. Yeah, it's another trope. Don't have sex or you die. Or in this point, don't attempt to have sex or you die.
Yeah.
But it definitely revealed the monster side because I don't know if I should spoil it. Well, it's a guy. I'll let you know that. All right, so the wolf it is a guy.
Of course, it's Monstrous Men, the episode.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, and that gave a. Oh, I don't want to use that pun. It gave a whole.
Do it.
Gave a whole new meaning to eating her out.
Oh boy.
Yeah. God bless. I'm sorry. Forgive me, y'all. That is a horrible. Look, y'all should have seen the mess. Just it was a graphic scene. It was. I actually don't think it was needed because we understand what was going down. We get that if you have sex, you die, and anything that is horror related, she died. But I think Eli wanted to just put the little nail in the coffin, like, hey, I'm making the point here, loud and clear. There's that wolf attack, and there's a new person in town. His name is Peter. Mm-hmm. And Peter is Romanian, and him and his family are wanderers. They come into I shouldn't say estate, but this new land and trailer area that used to be his grandfather's. He starts going to school, and he initially runs into this woman who's trying to be a novelist, and there's nothing advertly off about her. She's just very intuitive and very insightful. And the first thing she claims about him is like, "Oh, you're a werewolf." Skirt. Like, what? He's like, "Nah, you're lying." And apparently, if your index finger and middle finger are the same length, you're a werewolf. I checked myself 5 times after that.
Yeah. It's like, not a werewolf.
I'm like, ooh, I'm dangerously close. I'm like, but wait.
And that actually I had a question of like, is this in a world where like that's just real?
I guess so, because
it like, so it goes on in school. He goes there and everyone starts making fun of him, calling him a werewolf.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this like normal?
Exactly, because it was so easily believable for them. I'm like, is this a joke or is this like they know something that I don't know because I wasn't sure yet?
Is like the senior guy, is he a Cullen and like they're just all okay with this?
Exactly. Well, first off, you have to be okay with the fact that I think everybody and their mama in that town knows that, what's his name, Godfrey's daughter, Roman's sister, she's Frankenstein. Without a shadow of a doubt, Shelley is Frankenstein.
She looks like it. Okay, so first of all, I didn't know her name was Shelley, and Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, so she probably might be. But I thought she looked a little bit like the beings described in Lovecraft's work. I forget what they're called, but like the fish people, because she's got like the big eye.
Oh, that could be a 2-part thing.
Yeah, so it's like
like a 2-part homage to it.
Yeah.
I can see that.
But I mean, her name is Shelley. She's a Frankenstein.
She's definitely a she's a Frankenstein. But she could possibly be part of that too. Only reason why I'm like, I just pieced 2 and 2 together because in one scene, it's her father is disowning her again, like Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not my daughter in there. Don't you ever call her by her name. I dislike all my creation.
A plus dad.
A plus dad. And then it's storming and lightning out and raining. And I'm like, that's Frankenstein. Okay.
Yeah.
Peter, he, I guess, begrudgingly, happily becomes friends with Roman. And Roman, here's how puberty decides to hit you. Like a ton of bricks. Or the smoothest transition you ever felt. Like you're just rubbing a wall of silk.
Yeah. He's much more in that silk category.
He's definitely in the silk category. He has the nice slick back hair. He's a Godfrey, so we already know he comes from money. But he just feels bored with everything in town because he's got it all. The good looks, he's tall, athletic build, nice body. It's just puberty did all the favors for him.
Yeah.
Acne is not present. Crazy hair is not present. He's a smooth talker. He drives nice cars. He's got it all.
He's very into blood.
Very into blood. Hint. He's a vampire. And he's a vampire. And
I think it runs in the family. Because his brother in real life, Eric Skarsgård, played, or not Eric Skarsgård, Alexander Skarsgård played Eric Northman.
Eric Northman
in True Blood.
And let me tell you, Eric Northman. That's a vampire for sure.
Yeah.
So,
what I like is that they're not explicit about his vampirism.
No,
like,
they're very subtle.
Yeah, I thought, for me, it's like, because I'm trying to watch it as if I don't know that he's a vampire.
Right.
And it's like, it feels like he could be Lucifer.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of at first. I'm like, oh, he's a demon. I'm like, he's a pure devil child.
Yeah.
And then as it got on, I'm like, well, no, he has a thing for blood. He's doing that whole glamour thing, right? I'm like,
yeah.
So he's probably a vampire. It's just his mom I'm not sure about.
She throws me off.
I think she's just like Lilith. She just like 1, 2. She has 2. You know, she has a Frankenstein child and a vampire child, and she knows they're monsters, but she seems unaffected, and she's weirded out by werewolves and all these. Jean Grey. That is who plays Olivia, not Sophie
original,
Turner, the original
Jean Grey.
Her
name is Famke Janssen.
Famke?
Jean Grey.
Jean Grey. I'm so sorry.
We tried.
I'm so sorry. Don't hate us if you ever listen to this. We're trying. But I like the compare and contrast with both Peter and with both Roman with the puberty aspect, because when you're going through puberty and you're going through all the social awareness, you tend to veer off into these different lanes. One's the suave, debonair type. One's the outsider, new. Like, he literally has the whole typical, new kid on the block, new to school. So they both have mystery to them. It's just one is more well established, and he even mentions to his mother one day when she's like waking up for school, was like, it took me, I think he said 16 or 17 years to perfect this look. Let's not ruin anything I'm doing now. I was like, he's got a point. I was like, because when you finally found your it thing, what makes you, don't touch it. Don't ruin it. Because puberty is also about finding yourself. But yeah, so with Peter, with Roman, it's nice little parallels. They're both monstrous men, because one is a werewolf that we find out later. One is a vampire we find out later. And yet they both kind of go about things a little bit differently. One's a little rough and rugged, but definitely keeps to himself. One actually doesn't like to keep to himself. He wants to be purposeful and wants to be out there more. And it's just generally extremely creepy. That's Roman. He may be smooth and suave and debonair and all that, but he's incredibly creepy. Needs to take more lessons from Eric Northman. He definitely, because Eric Northman as a vampire is completely different. Viking king, conqueror, sex symbol and sex god and all of True Blood. The vampires in True Blood are just, they're different. There's this whole ranking system by age. The older you are, the stronger you are, the more powers you get. The whole glamour ability doesn't necessarily have any side effects, unlike what happens in Hemlock Grove.
Yeah, where he bleeds a little bit from the face.
Yeah, he bleeds a little bit from the nose, and he's just like kind of like, you know, laughs it off, like, oh, it's okay. I'm like, no, first off, you took control of someone's mind. Secondly, you're bleeding. These two things aren't good, my man.
That's what threw me off about the vampire side, because he is out in the daytime, which is not unheard of for vampires in comic books. American Vampire. They're the vampires in that are like, when the vampire strain came to the U.S., it mutated. Right. So they're not allergic to silver, they're allergic to gold. And they can go out during the daytime.
Wow.
And they're a different breed.
I don't want any of that.
Nope.
No. Oh, no. Oh, no. Hey, silver. You need silver. Stay out in the nighttime.
But yeah, that's why it's like, I thought he was just very into blood, and then like some like kind of like divine or god-touched being in some way.
That's fair.
Or like demon-touched.
Definitely demon-touched. His cousin might be god-touched. I don't know.
Did we talk about the transformation? Werewolf transformation?
Oh, no. Okay. So...
Oof. Talk about puberty hitting you like a sack of bricks.
Yo, okay. So, Peter... Roman gets this obsession with Peter and the fact that everyone calls him a werewolf, and Roman actually believes it. Peter reveals him. It's true. Roman wants to see this transformation and wants to see how it goes. And this transformation is probably one of the coolest transformations I've ever seen from into a werewolf. Probably the best analogy for puberty for monstrous men.
It's also easily the most violent transformation I've ever seen. Easily
the most violent, which is why I think it makes probably for the best analogy for puberty. So while he's like readying himself up to go through this change, he's actually able to do it towards like the evening time, not completely night, sun's still out a little bit, but it's later in the day. But he has to be completely naked for whatever reason. Well, the reason being because he's gonna lose his clothes anyway when he gets into his wolf form. One of the first things that happens is that he starts to get a little bit hairier. And then that's when the bones start to break. So he starts to get a little bit hairier. Nope. That happens to every guy during puberty. Your bones start to break. That can just be sort of like an analogy for you're growing. Yeah. But for him, he just metamorphs differently. And he's literally shedding his skin and gaining, more fur, more claws. And he's baring his fangs now. His eyes start to change color. And this is like a very physical transformation that happens to a lot of guys.
Well, his eyes actually fall out.
Well, that's fair. Yeah,
they're replaced by different eyes, then his teeth fall out. Yeah. And I mean, I remember when that happened to me during my puberty.
I remember the teeth falling out.
Yeah, teeth falling out, eyes falling out. Good old fun time.
Saw a whole new world.
Yeah. I do like that when he turned into a wolf, the first thing he did was he ate his human stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, that makes sense, but I don't want to watch this.
First off, okay, if your eyes are just popping out, do you always regrow them? Like, they're just like, how does this work? Like, I know people have like a certain limit of how much they're able to regenerate until they just can't. So, like, does that happen to werewolves, or is it just like, nah, like we just keep going?
I think it's more like they keep going. Okay. I thought it would have been cool if his eyes then changed color. Yeah, like he had blue eyes to start with. I don't remember.
No, they did change. I thought they changed to well, when he grew the eyes back in, they were like yellowish.
Yeah, but like, I mean, like his human form before the transformation and after the transformation, if his eyes changed color at that point, I thought that would have been cool, but it didn't happen. And it would have been difficult to have the whole entire rest of the show. He changes eye color every month. That's just...
Oh, that would be kind of cool.
That would be cool, but...
Are you wearing contacts or something? Yeah, I'm wearing colored contacts. I'm trying it out today.
I'm on a monthly subscription plan where every month I have a new pair of colored contacts.
Hey.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I think that's probably the best thing that can describe analogy, or the best analogy that can describe puberty. Because your eyes falling out is you coming into this world and seeing like a whole new perspective. Because as you're getting older, you're going to be more exposed to different things out there, the good and all the ugly as well. The shifting of your bones and the changing, the crackling, the breaking, the reforming, you're gonna grow taller, you're gonna grow out of clothes, you're gonna need new clothes. So Also with the fur, you're just gonna get a little bit hairy. It's okay. You're gonna grow hair. You're gonna change hairstyles. It happens. Or you're gonna lose hair. So it is what it is. Hair is just a part of the thing. Your teeth falling out, that can just resemble legit. Your teeth just fall out sometimes. You're finally getting your grown up teeth in,
or your wisdom teeth coming out.
Wisdom teeth coming out as well.
Just more about that age. I know I had braces when I was younger.
I think I had a retainer for a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, it also comes back to like the source of the monster transformations. Whereas in the Teenage Werewolf, it was science. In this one, it seems to be the more ancient version of it, the ancient like folk tales of it. And I don't know about Roman or Bill Skarsgård's his story in the show.
No, we just introduced to him as a freak. Like, like no offense, no offense, Mr. Skarsgård. You know, Pennywise,
but
you a little creepy, man. But I think that's the point.
I think he was definitely a good pick to play Pennywise in the new It movie. But if there were a movie and he was cast as Lucifer, I would watch it.
I'm not surprised. I'd probably watch it.
Yeah, and his brother is cast as like Michael.
I'm watch okay it. With that. Oh my god, that would make sense. Make it happen. We need this now. That makes so much sense. Please.
Either someone to make that or give us money so we can make it.
Please. We can do this. You know, Patreon's a thing. If you want it, we got it. We do it. We make it. Hey.
Any final thoughts on the films?
Honestly, it was a lot to digest. It really was just a lot to digest. And then just starting to understand, like, men are portrayed sexual deviants because Roman's character is extremely sexually promiscuous. He flirts with whomever, has sex with whomever he desires. I don't know if that's just because he's quote unquote bored, but highly unlikely. I think that's just, part of his character and his growing up. He feels if he wants it, he can do it, just acting upon those urges. Both are aggressive and want to be the leader of a group. Besides that, Olivia's creepy, and I have no idea who she is or what she is, and that just freaks me the hell out.
She could just be a motherly vampire.
I feel she just can't be a vampire. I feel she is just like the mother of all monsters.
Yeah, that also works.
Monstrous women. Oh my god. Oh no, I guess I just put down just different types of monstrous men. From the brooding to the mysterious to the hyper aggressive to having weird elongated index fingers which make you werewolves for no apparent reason, because that might actually be something for someone out there in this world. Congratulations.
You're a wolf.
You're a wolf. You're a wolfie there, boy. Just another thing with puberty is the acceptance of yourself and trying to disvalue stigmas, because there is a large stigma placed upon Peter because he is Romani. He gets called the G word a lot, and it's obviously in this show it's said with a lot of like spite behind it. Yeah, it's meant to like take him down a peg. That and just the sheer fact that people call him a wolf without actually knowing him. There's a lot of people that just don't know him, and because of one like tall tale, it's like, oh, you're a werewolf. I mean, it doesn't help the fact that he is one, but like at least give the brother a chance.
This time, once more with feeling.
We're going on a field trip.
All the feels.
All of them.
We got those.
Feelings.
Oh. For the cryptids and
yeah, all of them.
Feelings.
Okay, so if you like it, it is any shirtless Skarsgård.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, it's your eyes are falling out, replaced by wolf eyes.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
I'm never going to unsee that.
Never. Like, at all.
So what about for the topic? Monstrous men in media.
Any shirtless Skarsgård.
You like it?
Yeah, I like the topic a lot. It definitely, because we did, monstrous women. I think it was good to have the counterpart to it of monstrous men to give a little insight on it. Now, it was a little tough to actually find more information on just monstrous men, because women are depicted as monsters in media a little too often. Patriarchy. But it was really interesting, and especially using the two, the movie and the show, to help understand it all.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards any shirtless Skarsgård.
Yeah, I mean, I also like the phrase "any shirtless Skarsgård." I think that's really,
Yeah. I find we could use a more monstrous men, specifically about puberty being monstrous for men as opposed to being heroic.
Right.
We can use more of that. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I feel like there should be a neutral option.
It would be cool if there was a neutral option, but you know, the world, the world.
Yeah. So what about I Was a Teenage Werewolf? That is, for me, very hard. My eyes are falling out or being replaced by wolf eyes.
Yes, and extremely hard. My eyes are falling out, being replaced by wolf eyes.
It's a product of its time, and that's such a crappy excuse.
Yeah.
But it's the subtle misogyny that really
Grinds
like
your gears?
it really grinds my gears.
Yeah.
Of the like Tony's girlfriend. He has a girlfriend that wasn't even mentioned in the synopsis.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. And she's a sweetheart.
She is.
She's
She's
there
too good
him.
for Tony.
Yeah.
Leave Tony. Oh, I mean, he's dead, but Arlene, leave Tony. You're too good for him.
Please, girl, you can do better. Papa was right.
Yeah, he's right. He's a dick, but he was right.
But he was right. I'm sorry. Mom was right too, because Mom was right there. She's like, I don't know. Tony tried to, stake his claim and his worth. Like, I will at least defend her. Yeah, okay, Tony. We said all of that went.
Yeah. Hemlock Grove.
I will give it Any Shirtless Skarsgård.
Any Shirtless Skarsgård. I'm digging the mystery.
I'm definitely digging the mystery, and there's so much to unfold. Unfortunately, I didn't get to finish it before the show. Like an episode or two behind from finishing, but everything I'm seeing, at least finishing season 1, but everything I'm seeing so far, I've been enjoying it, and it's given me pretty good insight. Very crazy and rambunctious moments that have popped up.
Yeah.
But the mystery and what's driving it with all the things that needs to be uncovered, and it's kind of cool that it is at least placed in PA for me. So like, all those creepy. I guess we're just a creepy state.
Yeah, we got a lot of wilderness.
Yes, we definitely do have a lot of wilderness.
And there's creepy, spooky stuff in there.
Yeah, a lot of spooky stuff. And yeah, I think I just have to watch until I figure out what Olivia is. I need to know what is Olivia. Like,
if the show doesn't tell you, just switch to the books.
Yeah, like, tell me. I need to know. Like, I have so many questions. It just seems like she just has this extremely strong, alluring, sense of self. We already know she's immensely powerful from one reason or another, from her influence to her money to just how she wears a dress and how she enters a room. She gains all the attention. There's something dark and mysterious about her past. I need to know that.
The Lilith idea tracks because she's always wearing white.
Yes.
And I feel like that's an intentional choice.
I think so too. I think so too. Which also makes it a little, because see, now I need to know if her and the one, is he a Godfrey? Norman? Is he a Godfrey?
Norman. Which one's Norman? Is he the psychologist?
No, I forget the psychologist's name. He is, I guess he's like an investigator, but I think he is a Godfrey. He is part share owner of the institute, the medical institute, but he's not the doctor that's been working on all the people there. He's the one that has a problem with him.
Is he the one who is sometimes sleeping with?
Yes.
So he's a psychologist.
Oh, he is a psychologist.
He's the one who talks to the crazy guy. I think, because his brother was
Roman,
Jean Grey's ex-husband.
Yeah, and that's Roman and Shelley's father.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then his daughter is the one who is a little bit too familiar.
Yeah.
With Bill Skarsgård, with Roman.
Just a little
They're cousins.
Bit. Yep. It's weird. It's very, very creepy there. Uncomfortably so. Mm-hmm. And we find out. Well, I found out. I don't know if you were there. But, as we said, a demon touch on one side of the family.
Yeah.
Hers might be a divine touch.
Yeah.
So, the Lilith thing can really track. It can really track ground if that's true. I'm like, oh. Which will actually make this so much more interesting. So, Eli, you did good.
So, as always, we are your Ghouls Next Door.
And don't get married.
We'll eat your kids.